change industry, brand yourself professionally, and without having to hit reset on this on your career, but just change where you're at and see how the industry within Kenya is and use as a person. So currently, those of us joining, you can tell us what are the reasons that you're considering shifting your careers. Is it, again, an out current field? So you can share them on the chat so we can see, incorporate them and talk about them a little bit. Or maybe you can hear from our panelists and learn so much more about what they think about how it is to change your careers within the field and how to get the attention of recruiters, HR, manifest companies itself when it comes to shifting your careers within a certain industry. Again, my name is Nicole Mala. I'll be your host for the night. With this 90 minutes, I'll be asking the panelists to introduce them, so who they are. I will not tell you any of their names. I'll let them shift their careers in sense, or what they are, what strategies they're helping other people use in terms of shifting that. It's good to see everyone just saying hello. That's great. And just engage with us, tell us how you're feeling for the night. You can also share with emojis, share thumbs up, ringing. So again, is probably, again, when how you want to craft yourself professionally within your certain field, how to rebuild yourself without having to reset, and also just the basic strategies to use when it comes to shifting your careers. The topics we will cover are so many, but so little at the same time. It's how to pivot with purpose and without pay cuts. So you want to pivot career without having to negotiate your salary or getting it cut when you change your career. It's also, the next topic will be about tailoring your resume for a new industry or function. How does one do that? How do I write my resume to attract recruiters or HRs so that they can see that, yes, I was in a different industry, but now I'm shifting, but I'm still capable of doing the work that I am shifting to. Positioning yourself with clarity and confidence. How does someone position themselves with that confidence that you know what you're doing, you're confident in this career shift that you're taking, you want to be a successful person within the said industry or the new industry and the challenges they bring. Also, what recruiters are looking for when it comes to career shifters or switchers. What careers should I switch to, or what careers should I back up thinking to switching to? Those are the certain things that our two panelists will be talking about. Again, another topic is from someone who's pivoted successfully. How can someone pivot successfully? Is it more than once? Can you pivot in different careers? Can you pivot to one career or maybe just two? Is there a number? So those are the things that we'll be covering tonight. I'll just remind you guys that I did have a couple of, if you have any couple of questions to ask, you can ask them on the chat, and probably our panelists will answer them as we go. And they'll give you on what to learn today. Hopefully you're able to hear me well and good. You can show up a thumbs up if you're hearing me now, and if you're enjoying the session, and hopefully you'll enjoy and learn more about how it's possible to shift your careers. So I'd like to my two panelists. I'd like them to also share a bit about themselves. There are amazing people who've been able to pivot and shift areas. They have done things, and one of our panelists is a major person within the human resource industry. I learn more from her, and also next panelist, he's very amazing. They'll be able to introduce themselves and tell us more of who they are. Just, I don't want to throw thing, but I'd like to introduce my first. I wasn't gonna say their names, but I can't introduce without telling. So the first panelist I'll introduce to this section is Joel, and he tells a bit about what he does, how he's able to his career. His name is Joel Juma, so give us a brief introduction. And once that is done, next panelist will also give us how she's done. Her name is Josephine. There, and she's also gonna tell us a bit about herself, how she's been able. I was telling you a little bit about herself. So she's a person who's pivoted in the human resource industry, and she's done a lot of amazing things. So I hope within that time frame she can tell us who she is, what she's done. So please welcome our guest. And yeah, so from that, I hope that maybe Joel, you can begin to introduce who you are and tell us your background and just one golden tip of how you've been able. Have you ever considered pivoting in your career, or have you done it in person? And how was your experience? So Joel,
thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole, for that awesome introduction. You've already given it away. Who am I? What do I do? So happy to be here. It's a pleasure to be part of this conversation today. I believe we'll be learning more from each other. So once again, my name is Joel Juma. I like saying from BrighterMonday, right? So I work at BrighterMonday. I am a customer experience specialist or expert, as well as a bit about operations. So I have over 4 years of experience in customer experience. I've worked in various brands before. So I'm one, can I say ambassador, or one living example of someone who has pivoted their careers. So initially I studied journalism and mass communication, and I was thriving in that field. At some point, I thought I'd be one of the greatest in that area. But then at some point, I managed to pivot and shifted into customer experience. So some of the things I do, I'm so keen about service quality improvement. A bit of something we call customer journey mapping, a bit about training of our teams at BrighterMonday in terms of service excellence and a lot of stuff. So we'll be talking about that in a short while, but for now, that will be about me. So I'll just be giving you my unique perspective of how career shifting and how to embrace it. Are you adaptable enough? Are you ready for the doors that are going to come? So look forward to the session. That will be one or two texts from me. I'll give it back to you, Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Joel. I would like also to introduce Josephine about who she is. I did give out away what she does, but I didn't clearly give her who she was. So I want her to tell us who she is, what she's done so far, and then a golden tip of how she was able to pivot her career in under 30 seconds if she could. So please, Josephine, you can take the lead.
Hi, Nicole. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys today. My name is Josephine Kanyede. I'm an advocate and human resource professional. Currently, I'm a human resource business partner in the manufacturing and marketing field. I boast of 11 years of experience in legal HR. I am passionate about people and aligning business strategies with people. And in today's session, I am hopeful I'll guide and nurture, if not all, most of you into taking bold steps to advance your career and make changes without necessarily having to start over afresh, starting from scratch. One of the key mottos I usually tell people is, do your best with what you have, and tomorrow is not guaranteed. So you only have today, and you have to do and work with what you have. So over to you, Nicole. Looking forward to a very interactive session with everyone.
Thank you so much, Josephine, for that introduction. It was lovely hearing from you as well, and you engaging with us. As I would also want to learn how you were able to pivot in your career. I'm also excited to learn so many things about ways to pivot in my career because I've done it. So I'm also interested in that. So that was a good introduction. So I have a couple of questions for my panelists before we begin. I hope you guys are ready to answer those questions, so that our people who have joined us can be excited and also have questions of their own, probably as the session goes. But my question is particularly for each of you, Joel and Josephine, and either one of you can start, but probably Josephine can start us off. So what are the practical strategies when it comes to pivoting in your career? Where does one begin when it comes to career shifting, in terms of you want to shift in your career?
All right, that's a very nice question, Nicole. What I'd like to say is you start with where you are. For example, if you're employed and you're employed in a role that you want to shift from, you look at the areas that you can contribute in terms of the skills that you have. How do you align? Approach, if it's the business leaders, if it's your manager, offer your services. It doesn't necessarily have to come with a pay rise, because I know with the current generation, it's always about what do I get in return. But remember, you're trying to make a shift. And instead of quitting and going outside there to start afresh, you use the what can I say, the materials or the resources that you have. So for this instance, the skill you're looking to grow might not be a need or an urgent requirement for the current employer that you're working with. But if you offer your services because you're also looking to learn, it's very hard. I'm speaking from experience. You will not get a refusal. Most employers, speaking as one of them, would really appreciate an employee who offers skills free of charge. Who doesn't like free things? I mean, so with that in mind, you start on that aspect, and then as years go, now you can start speaking in terms of if you're still in that same place. But remember, you're giving your services in return for experience and also to grow your resume in these areas that you have no prior experience in, that you've not been hired for. And also, as you do that, you use this chance to advocate for yourself to get a certain title. Yes, you're giving your services for free, but the cost can be as simple as something like, say, a change in title. So if I'm marketing, what if I do the HR bits that I'm seeing is missing in this organization, and then now you add HR to my title? I don't need a pay raise. I mean, I also want to gain and harness my skills in this sector. So that is one of the ways I would advise anyone who's looking to shift to start. So if you're in employment, you work with the current employer that you have, offer your skills, even if it's free of charge. Grow yourself in that field, build that CV as much as possible. Do not despise it, all right? Because you have an end goal, yeah? So that your CV is built to reflect the true nature of what it is that you're doing without lying. And at the same time, make a smooth career shift on that aspect. So that is one of the first or the best way I can tell someone to approach that. If you're unemployed, but you graduated with a different professional, look for internship attachments. You know, if you know relatives, if you know friends, if you know anyone, even if it's your local store or your neighbor, offer these services. Remember, whatever it is that you studied for can be applied in most of the businesses you see. It doesn't matter how you feel. It's not. Find ways that your skills can apply to certain businesses and offer them. So if you're unemployed, you look for ways you can offer them, whether it's free, whether it's paid. At the end of the day, you're looking to grow yourself and your CV. So if the one of the ways you can do it is to offer it, even if it means free of charge, in the meantime, it will eventually pay out. So that would be my advice on that approach. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you so much for that, Josephine. I am amazed about how one begins when it comes to the career. People have said offer is for free. I think having had time considering that offering free services isn't that easy, especially when you have bills to pay. But again, if you want to pivot in your career, you have to take chances, and I guess chances is offering your services for free, which I think a lot can do. Probably Joel.
Thank you, Nicole. Josephine has mentioned a very good point around offering your skills for free. So just to add on it basically comes around doing some research because one thing you'll notice in the career industry or in the job market, there are certain trends and then there are certain gaps. So if you're leveraging on the gaps that are available or the gaps there to point you towards the opportunity. So for example, if say you are more into sales and then you see a gap in marketing, that's your chance to pivot because these are kind of one and the same field, but with different kind of qualifications and experience. So if you have a bit of something you can offer based on your research and based on the gaps, that's where you step in. And in the process, you'll be building and it will help you to smoothly shift into a different career path altogether. So it's more about research, as well as in the process, you'll be upskilling because that skill you already have, you're trying to just make it better for the other part that you're shifting into. So it's good to also pay attention to that. So that will be my take on that. Over to you, Nicole.
That's a good, amazing take. Again, we've learned a lot. The aspect of free can be hard, and as Joel and Justin have explained, you have to take chances when it comes to that. Probably on my next question, how does one frame themselves in a new industry? I know you had entailed on that, but what skills, what transferable skills is the industry currently looking for? Are there any specific similar skills that we can all apply on our CVs or just on our LinkedIn's? Is there skills that the recruiters are looking for when it comes to shifting? Are they all similar? Probably Joel.
Okay, so let me start off with that. So there's one thing that stands out in every, if you go to an interview scenario, or if someone is asking you about a specific profession, one thing that stands out, the basic thing that we usually ignore, soft skills. So for any career you're moving into, there's something about your communication skills and your presentation. It's very useful when it comes to things like marketing, operations. How do you communicate? How do you present yourself? Not per se as a person or as a brand, but presentation in terms of your quality of work. So it really comes in handy. Another thing that might come in handy, it's very basic, like problem solving and critical thinking. It comes in handy when you're trying to transfer your skills. Before you build anything, it starts from there. Things to do with leadership qualities and team collaboration, it comes in handy. So basically, what really stands out is having, there's this thing we like talking about when you're pivoting ourselves. When you're trying to frame something, you talk about the STAR method, where you are basically talking about the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So most of your previous role will kind of prepare you for your next role based on some of the soft skills before you start getting into the hard skills. I know at some point we'll be talking about some of the hard skills that you need to transfer to the others related field. But the basic thing is start with your soft skills and your people skills before you can now move on to now the hard skills. And that might require a bit of maybe you upskilling, you're taking a short course or just taking a bit of learning for you to now head over to the next step. So that will be my take around how to maybe frame yourself for the next step or the next career that you want to dive into.
Amazing, Joel. Thank you. So Joel has spoken about transferring hard skills. Most of us don't know the difference between soft and hard skills. And as I talk about transferable skills that we would want, maybe Josephine can explain what are those maybe 2 or 3 soft skills or 2 or 3 hard skills that recruiters are probably looking for that would be similar to apply to any industry that you're changing into, that they'll be happy to see. What would they be? So if Josephine can take us and just answer that brief question a bit, or maybe she has a different take from Joel, that would be much appreciated and welcomed.
Thank you, Nicole. I completely agree with Joel's perspective on it earlier. It's very important to harness and have the ability to sell yourself. I've seen people asking whether it's sustainable to offer free services. You know, the beauty of it all is you don't have to. So if you have the opportunity to sell it while you're changing, that's also a good move, yeah. So the soft skill I'd say is ability to sell yourself. You know, you don't really need to change completely, but you can just adapt the skills that you currently have from your previous experience, and then you shape it in a way that it aligns to the changing role that you're looking into. So that is one of the key skills that one will need to have. And also there's also the aspect of being adaptable and flexible. You know, you have to be able to adjust quickly. Now, when you're shifting career and you're moving from one profession to another, and say you're moving to another employer who has accepted to give you a chance and they're paying you, they will not give you room to learn and make mistakes. No. Remember, you're getting paid for a service, so they'll expect the service. So with that, you need to be adaptable and flexible quickly to the new roles, the industries, the expectations. And one way you can do this is, as Joel has said, do a lot of research, partake into or invest into yourself by taking the short courses offered online free of charge by certain portals, for example, the Brighter Monday one. You also have to improve on your communication skills. The beauty about this is the various, I'd say, apps and opportunities for you to work on your communication, even just speaking to the person next to you on a daily with the intention of improving on your communication skill. That's one of the ways you can harness your skill. There's also now the emotional intelligence, being self-aware of your strengths and your gaps and how to bridge the two so that you sell yourself highly. That is one of the biggest, or rather, the major ways one who is looking to change, shift careers can use without necessarily starting over. Then there's also the part where you have to have I'd say, networking skills, you know, storytelling, doing a lot of personal branding, knowing your niche and knowing how to target your niche, right? Depending on the professional you're looking to change in, you look at what are the emerging trends and how you can harness whatever it is that is available for you to target, you know, the professional you're looking to grow into. So, for example, say you're moving from corporate world to say forex, or if it's beauty, you know, for beauty you'll use a lot of social media. You change your CV from a corporate look to, say, a catalog or a portfolio, you know, something that is easily shared on the social media. So those are some of the key things that one will need to look into on that question.
Hi, you've been told by Josephine that there are a lot of things to look into, especially networking, changing your aspects when it comes to changing your career. So I'd like to pivot into the next question, and maybe this would go back to Josephine. What are recruiters and hiring managers? What do they want to see when someone changes their field? What do they want to see on the CV? particularly? Do they want to see your years of experience in one aspect of your previous field, or do they want to see the courses that you took that you guys have mentioned? What are the things or the aspects that are HR, from a HR perspective, that you would want to see when it comes to when someone has decided to switch in their careers and they're applying for a certain job that has never been within their field?
As I've said, it's mostly what you bring to the table. Okay. So if you've done an investment in terms of training, that is also a key aspect. And then how you implemented or used your training skills to get a little bit of experience in the field you're looking to go into. Okay. How are you selling yourself? You have to be clear and convincing, both in your resume for you to get shortlisted, and then during the interview sessions for you to get the job. So it's very a key aspect. So for example, if I can use myself as HR and legal, I had to put it in a way that the business saw the need to have me as a key member in their organization. So as a human resource business partner and a corporate advocate, blending 10 years of legal and HR expertise to drive compliance, governance, and people strategy and aligning them to business strategy. That is one of the ways I would sell myself. Okay. And then I would go into highlighting my key achievements, what I've been able to achieve while working in the legal industry, and how that aligns with the HR aspect of it, and also the value addition I bring on board into the corporate field. All right. So those are some of the things hiring managers will look into, and which is very important for our candidates to dive into and give a lot of attention to that.
Okay, thank you so much, Josephine, for that insight. As she's mentioned, she's part of the people who've also pivoted. As you can see, she was previously a legal person and decided to pivot into HR. That is very recommendable, and she seems to have been successful in becoming a HR person, which is very empowering to some of us who want to pivot into our next careers. So I want to ask Joel a different question. Question is, what are the red flags or green flags that one can place in that shouldn't or should be on their CV when they come to pivot their career? What are the things that someone would want to see or someone should not place on their CVs?
Thank you, Nicole, for that. I wanted to throw a twist just before I go on the point that we've just talked about. What are recruiters looking for? What hiring managers looking for? So one thing that has happened to me, it was a bit of clarity. They'll mostly be curious to know, why are you switching your career? That's one thing that will stand out. So you have to have some concrete answer to that. For my case, I was like, you understand the field that I've, one time I was asked that question. I basically just had to just give it to them. Like, you understand the field of journalism, it's flooded. And at this point, it's more about numbers. They prefer hiring an influencer than hiring someone with that degree or that BA in communications because it's numbers. And everyone in the room laughed. And then it was all about me showing them how my skills can be transferred now to customer experience and stuff like that. So when it comes to what people are looking for in the CV, so one red flag that will stand out is having a generic CV. So when your CV is just generic, it's not very specific on who exactly you are, what exactly you stand for, what are some of your achievements, what are some of your hard skills, and soft skills as well, and how do they apply. So what you need to do to make it a green flag CV, you might need to tailor it to the industry. For example, if I've been in communications, I still want to come into customer experience, It's one and the same industry. So one thing you need to also understand is when you're pivoting a career, you need to understand, are the skills really transferable? Is it something you can move over to the other side? Because if for example, I was to go to tech, yes, I know a thing or two or even more about tech. But then when they give me real deep tech, like we want you to debug a code, it will be very hard. So it's hard for me to get hired, right? I have the skills, I have the motivation. I feel like I have the calling, but now I don't have the specific skill set needed. So that's something you need to watch out for. And then you also need to show, was there a need of upskilling or learning? If there's no any form of upskilling or learning, remember sometimes learning can be on the job. You remember the first point where we talked about you might need to volunteer or just do some free service. So you upskilled, you are able to learn. So ensure that appears really clearly. If there's any certifications, ensure it's there. And also your explanation for pivoting, it must be somewhere in your profile summary. You've seen a CV where there's your name, and then there is a bit of profile summary or career summary. Let it be one of the first things that come out, so that by the time someone is realizing this is someone who is pivoting, it's not too late. Let it come a bit earlier on your profile summary, on your background and where you plan to go, or some of the things you plan to do. What are your ambitions? Another thing that also might prevent you from pivoting or might be a red flag in your CV is having long and unrelated duties. For example, my CV at the time of pivoting, what I had to do, I pivoted about 6 years back. So it's been some time. So when I was pivoting, I had some previous experience. I had done like 1 year of radio, a bit of production and film work. So when I'm pivoting, that kind of experience, it's not relevant to my next employer. So at that point, I had to rework my CV. So anytime you wish to pivot, look at your CV. Does it have so much unrelated stuff? So you might, at some point, I know it's a hard decision to make. You might have to just put some clothes back in the closet and lock them away. So at that point, you need to be sure that these are some of the skills I need to transfer. This is some of the relevant experience. Because when I'm pivoting from communications to customer experience, the bit of communications that involves production, things to do with reporting related to news and maybe production in radio. That means that information is not relevant to my current or where I wish to pivot to. So you need to be aware of that. And related information in the past duties you might just need to give the bones, not the flesh. So that will be my take around that area. So any questions at all, feel free to just drop them. I'll give it back to Nicole.
Thank you again, Joel, for that. As you've had constructive sense, never have your CV too long or too short. As Joel has said, I think I've done most of the mistakes, and I think some of us have learned a few tips when it comes to CV writing or crafting our CVs. So I'd change it to our viewers and ask you a question, because probably you've had time to think about it. You've listened to our panelists and reflect on what you've done when it comes to changing your career or what you do in the future. So have any of you tried shifting your career? The biggest challenges that you faced when it comes to shifting your career? You've learned you made the mistake of doing that. Tell us what you try when it comes to shifting your career. What challenges did you go through? Just tell us, was it hard shifting? Was it a deep shift? Was it something difficult, like maybe I'm making a mistake when it comes to questions about CVs? So one of the questions, as you consider answering that question in our chat, and our panelists take a two breather before I ask them the second question, I see some of us have asked any should a CV have? And probably I can answer that. A CV should have around 2 pages. If you're not permanently years, it can have about 1 page, just expressing your experience, brief background of what you've done. If you've done volunteer work in your shifted career, the work that we talked about free, you can add that. Recommendations, referee of people who've worked with you, that's something you can also add. Just make it a brief sense of CV. Use the technologies that we have currently. You can also check out Brighter Monday when it comes to revamping CVs, which will help you out. So those are the things. Hopefully I've answered the question. And you can also tell us, again, well, how was it shifting your careers? How did you feel? What was the experience that you had? Was it difficult? What are the challenges that you went through when it comes to shifting your careers? Or have you guys tried shifting your careers and it backfired? And you felt like you had to go back to the career that you once did, or did you move forward with your career? Was it successful? Just tell us, share with us, chat with us. I'd like to see and hear more from you guys as we go. So I would like to introduce our second discussion and probably ask questions. One of the questions that we currently have is, and we're going to talk about, again, CVs. Probably the panelists can tell us. Josephine can answer this question because I just gave a brief background of what a CV how many pages a CV should have, and maybe I'm wrong. So what compelling CV and how should it look like? But when it comes to changing your field, what are the things that you should add? Because I've seen also some people asking that question. Should I erase my work experience? Should I leave it there? Should I add it? So Josephine, probably you can answer that for us.
Thank you so much for that question, Nicole. So your CV should have if you're working and you're shifting career, there's no need for you to leave out anything. Just find ways of blending whatever it is that you currently do with the role that you're looking to grow into or to change into. So a compelling CV should be a bridge between your old profession and your new profession, okay? And then it should be a marketing tool, yeah, not a biography. What I mean by this is it should be selling you rather than giving a summary about your life. All right. So you focus on the key issues which position you as a strong candidate in your new career. So if it's training that you've partaken in that line, you indicate there. And then if you've done or you've shared your expertise in various fields, you also make sure you include it in your resume. Okay, this will also help to reduce instances of bridges. All right, it will help to gap that bridge. And then you should give a story about transferable value, like explain your past skills, your achievements, and the mindsets you apply to the new field that you're looking to change into. So what I can start by saying as a skeleton, it should have a strong profile. So a summary about yourself, okay? Who you are, what you do, and your future direction. For example, if I can use myself, and if any one of you gets time, you can check my LinkedIn and you'll see the executive summary, which goes something like, I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and a human resource professional with 10 plus years of experience in, then I've mentioned both litigation, compliance, governance, and aligning business strategies to the people strategy. And then I've highlighted that I'm passionate about people. All right. And I'm also passionate about driving business organizations, transforming them to achieve, strategies. So you focus on the skills that you're looking to leverage. And if you can word it better, even perfect for yourself. There's that. And then now you also include your core skills. Remember, changing careers, that does not mean you start afresh. It means you're simply what can I say? You're simply shading your current skin into vibrant and more, explorative nature about shifting careers. So you put your competence, what it is that you're currently working on, and where it aligns, highlight. All right. And I tend to say that all careers are integratable in one aspect or the other. So find a way that you can make your shift aligning. All right. So core skills you need to highlight in your competence section. Then there's the reframe your experience to relevance in terms of highlighting your achievements that connect to the new career. All right. So if I can use myself as an example, during one of the interviews I went to, I was asked, as a lawyer, would you be downgrading yourself going into HR? And what could you possibly know about HR that you as a lawyer think you can be a value addition to this profession? So I just made a small comment, and I said, I just asked the panelists, have you ever been taken to court? And the answer was affirmative. So I said, then you've probably come into contact with one of my submissions or pleadings, so if I can make a case against an employer, I think an employer needs me to prevent them from becoming a case. So you see, it's just an example of how you can sell yourself to appear or even to magnify your benefits, to the organization, or if it's whatever field it is that you're looking into. So experience, reframe it to relevance. Because if I stuck to saying I'm good in litigation, they wouldn't understand how litigation relates to, the human resource field or something like that. All right. So there's that. And then you get some who would say, we have a legal manager for that. So when you bring the aspect or you're preventing them from getting where they need a legal manager who can be useful for the corporate governance, it's one of the key areas where I'd say really, really sold me, using myself as an example. And then always ensure you do evidence for career transition efforts. That's what I was saying. If you have an opportunity to give your services to the current organization if you're employed, or volunteer for whatever field you have the opportunity to have access to, this will really help. So yes, you might not get paid, but remember, if you're not employed and you volunteer, you stand to lose nothing, because you volunteer as you wait to get for an opportunity. If the opportunity comes, well and good, you shift, all right, and you go and get paid. But if there's none at the moment, you don't lose anything, because you sit dark, yes, and wait for you to get paid, because it's not sustainable. But remember, you're not getting paid even if you don't do anything. So that is one of the angles I'll say one needs to consider when they're not doing anything and they have nothing to lose by offering free services. It always pays up in the end. It always pays up. I think that's it from me, Nicole. I can hand it over to you.
Thank you again, Josephine, for that incisive answering. Again, I see that it's all about connecting and connections and just trying to label yourself as the best suitable candidate, which some of us have found hard to do, but hopefully with the examples that you've shared and what you've used, and you've also shared your LinkedIn, which people can use as an example, you guys can go check her out and see what she's written and how she was able to pivot in her career, just to learn a bit, because I'm seeing a lot of people saying how it has been difficult for them to pivot when it comes to showcasing themselves. And probably now if Joel has anything to add on while I ask him the second question, is of how does one showcase their accomplishments and previous experience to be relevant to the current job they're wanting to apply to and they're wanting to shifting to. For example, you had stated that you were someone who was working in communications and you were working in the film industry, and now you pivoted yourself into the customer experience side. So I just want you to mention what are the accomplishments that probably you listed on your CV, just to make it relevant that you're able to work in this field that you're currently working in.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole, for that question. So I've seen a lot of comments so far, and one interesting comment that has stood out is someone was saying on the comments, if you go through the comments or the chat, you'll see someone saying, shifting career is like shifting minds. So when you're talking about a mind shift, it's more about looking at what the perspective is and trying to fit at that perspective and positioning yourself to look like, it's more like blending in. I remember the comment that has been mentioned of, it's like shedding off your skin to become better. So what will stand out when you're trying to pivot yourself? You need to showcase some of your accomplishments. It's very key to showing off what you're bringing on the table. So going back to the CV, it's more about making someone want to be interested to hear more from you. A CV is like that tool that says, look, I'm this great, you can work with me based on this. It's like more about pitching yourself. Imagine yourself as the product. Why would we buy you? Why do we need you? What are you bringing? What solutions or what value add are you bringing to the organization? So some of the things that should stand out is something like leadership. For example, in your previous role, if at some point you are able to work in a team as a supervisor or you led in a certain project, that will really stand out. Things to do with problem solving, again, the STAR method, what was the situation, what was the task, what were the actions and the results. And then if also you're good to back it up with some data or numbers. For example, I have an interesting friend of mine who initially did a bachelor's in education. They were a teacher, but currently that guy is actually a salesperson. How did they pivot? And they've actually grown over the years. So how did they pivot? You just come up with, if I was able to lead students, if I was able to impart knowledge convincingly, my class was always above average. It means I'm a good communicator. It also means that I'm good at product knowledge, because when you're trying to sell something, you have to be very good with the product, the benefits, the value prop of something. It comes in handy. So what you need to do is more of when you're speaking about yourself or when you're writing about yourself on that CV, it's more about using action verbs, talking about achievements, talking about some of what you are able to deliver and what you're bringing aboard. One thing you also have to put in mind is not every career might actually be transferable. But at the same time, if you know the need and you know your value, you can always place yourself to the value based also on have concrete evidence on the skills, certifications and stuff like that. So it's more about showcasing how agnostic your accomplishments are, if I can use that word. So that will be my take around how to approach that question. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you again, Joel, for that insight. You were able to tell us metrics, share our projects that we did in our previous careers. That's one of the tips that I found very insightful. So probably the viewers that have joined us and are listening have learned something from that, and they start working on their accomplishments, that just listing them down in bullet form, and them and seeing how relevant they are to the industry that they want to apply to. Again, it's very critical to understand that not all careers are shiftable, but if you have the confidence and you understand that your accomplishments can truly help the company that you're currently wanting to apply to, they can be transferable in that sense. I would like to ask Josephine a question, and because she's a HR person, also on the legal side, she's probably met a couple of candidates who applied for different jobs, seeing that a couple of them have tried to change their careers because she can tell by reading one CV. So when it comes to interviews, what are the common career shifting questions that you've asked, and how to answer them if any of us come across them? What are the common questions, and how does one answer those questions in terms of stating why they're shifting their careers, why they think they're the best suitable person, even though they don't have sufficient experience within the field they're applying to? Because those are the particular questions that I find is really hard when it comes to stating why I'm shifting in a certain career. So probably, Josephine, you can answer that and tell us what are the common questions and how to answer those said questions.
All right, thank you for your question, Nicole. So one of the obvious questions about career shifters is, why are you changing careers? It can be as simple as that. With this question, we're trying to understand whether this person is running away from their old career because of maybe an ethical thing they did, or they just applied. You know, there are those people who just apply for any role they see, regardless of whether they are fit for it, whether they can do it or not. So with this question, we are just simply trying to understand where this person is coming from, yeah, and also try to minimize taking a lot of their time, depending on how they answer. So it's also to give someone a chance to, you know, sell themselves and convince us in terms of the purpose and integration they're looking into, and not just simply, you know, I saw the advert and I applied. So it's usually to understand where this person is coming from and what value addition they're trying to sell about themselves, yeah? So there's that. It can be as simple as, why are you changing careers? Sometimes it can be twisted to something like, how does your previous experience prepare you for this role? You know, so can you, like with this question, you're trying to understand, can this candidate connect the dots for us? You know, are they able to, you know, give us insights into how they're able to transfer the skills in this angle? You know, some roles don't really require, I'd say, a lot of hands-on experience, but if one can put a good case in terms of how they'll transfer the skills, yeah. So this is a question that would enable us to assess that aspect about it all. Most of the roles that you see have transferable skills. For example, customer service and sales, you know, HR and law. Okay, for law, it's transferable to almost every profession, because every profession has a legal exposure, has a compliance liability, you know. So with this question, it gives some candidates a chance to, you know, highlight on their transferable skills. The other question is to understand if the candidate has enough experience in the new field. So this is where we assess on whether the candidate will put in the work for the amount of money they're requesting to be paid for, or will they come then to be trained and then to be, you know, spoon-fed and whatnot. So depending on the level at which this person is coming in, you have to assess the skills. If it's an entry-level job, the assessment will not be that high, because they won't really need to, you know, show the relevant achievements that much. But if it's a senior level or a middle level job, these are the aspects which will play key pointers into whether this person can fit into the role they want to change into or not. So it will also include when you're asked about enough experience, other than just the transferable skills, you also need to highlight any certification, training, or side projects you've done. Remember, for a career change, it doesn't have to be that you worked for an organization with the role. I say any business out there that your skills can be useful to in order to harness it. You do that, gain the experience, then in interviews, showcase how you have gained experience in that field, whether it's side projects, whether it's your own individual businesses. Always ensure to highlight the certifications, the trainings, and the experience you've done, whether you're employed or not employed, if it's on your own personal projects, or if it's on, volunteering aspects for other businesses. And then there's the common question of why we should hire. All right. So this is mostly to look into your unique angle on how you'll approach this cross-disciplinary advantage you're looking to explore. Like, do you bring something that normal candidates who are already in that experience are not going to bring or do not have? So this is just you to sell yourself, market yourself as a value addition that is outstanding compared to just the normal, So for example, and this is with no offense or not trying to belittle, my seniors in the HR field, if they ever come across this, I'm just using myself as an example because at least with myself, I can't get sued. So for example, if I'm doing a shift from legal to HR, what is the value addition that I bring on board that normal HR without a legal background will not be able to? So you see, with that question in mind, I am sure most of you can answer that question easily. So now if you're doing a career change, these are some of the questions you'll be asked. And it's very important that you prepare yourself accordingly. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you again, Josephine. So she has talked about the common questions of should we hire you? Struggling question for me. With that question. Also, Joel has a few common questions he's gone through, and he answers the questions of what are the tips, what tips to your interviews? Are there any things that you can probably share in the future? And because you generally, both Josephine and Joel, pivoted in different careers, what are the tips when it comes to acing an interview? What should you do? How should you prepare?
Awesome. I believe when it comes to nailing that interview, a lot comes into play, right? So in an interview scenario, the first thing that should stand out is your preparation. And around this, let me just highlight and make it more practical to bring it home and make it easier for you when you go to that interview. Around preparation, especially if you're pivoting for a career, the first thing that will stand out is you researching about the company, understanding about a bit their values, some of their goals, what do they seek to achieve, and a bit about industry trends. I'll give an example of Brighter Monday. So right now at a Brighter Monday doing, so you've seen a lot of banners and advertisements at Brighter Monday around soft skills training, around some of our projects. So sometimes it's good to, when you're going for an interview in a place, sometimes I can't call it stalking, just finding someone who works there through LinkedIn and asking some specific in-house questions that people might expect. So how does this give you advantage or leverage? It sparks interest. For example, if you know what currently is happening in the industry of recruitment around Brighter Monday, for example, or the trends in HR, it will be very easy for you when you go for that interview. You're able to place yourself on those case scenarios. For example, when you're speaking, when you're selling yourself, you'll be so future focused because you'll be talking about, in this new role, I look forward to doing this and that. That will really give you leverage over any other candidate because it shows, one, it shows interest. The second thing, it shows a lot of preparedness and eagerness to learn. So when you're looking at someone who is pivoting, the amount of information they have and the eagerness and the research they've done, it will be very easy for you to nail that interview. At some point, you might also need to just highlight how agile or how adaptable you are by looking at maybe your previous experience and relating it to the current experience. Again, it goes back to what we were talking about, transferable skills. And you remember what Josephine said around, there's something I know in this field that no any other common person knows based on my background, right? So that will again set you apart from any other candidate. So when it comes to nailing an interview that you are transferring a career for, what will stand out is for any person, is more about, it's a game of how much will someone like you, or how much interested will someone be in whatever you're pitching to. So it's more about a game of interest, sparking interest, both on your side, how much interested you are in just growing in this new path, and as well as showing the employer how much interest they need to have in you. Just set the expectations as high as possible based on some of your skills and your experiences. So the final thing I'll talk about on this area, you might need to do some practice around, do some mock practice of, for example, what Josephine has just said in terms of some of the questions that you expect and how best to approach them. So it will be more around preparedness and around being able to position yourself by giving interest in who you are, why you want to go there, and what are your future endeavors with them. So that will spark the interest of, we want to work with this guy. He's different. He's unlike the other people we've seen before, because most people will be more streamlined. But on your side, you'll be giving value and adding to what they expect already and just giving them more of what to expect. So that will be my take on that, Nicole.
A thoughtful insight from Joel. I hope you guys can hear me clearly and comfortably. So I'm gonna move to asking our viewers and ask the first one particular. We've learned about CV. What should we add on our CV interviews? So I'm going to ask, what is the hardest from our viewers? What's the hardest thing when it comes to updating your CV? What have you found hard to do? Is it tailoring your achievements? Is it highlighting your transferable skills? Or maybe is it understanding the new industry that you want to pivot to? Or probably also, is it how do you avoid irrelevant details? So what are the things that you found hardest when it comes to updating your new role on your new CV? So what are the things that you found difficult to do? Is it tailoring your achievements, just showcasing them? How do I put them? We've learned a lot about highlighting our transferable skills. So we've talked about soft skills, hard skills. Have you found it difficult? Have you learned something new when it comes to adding them or probably showcasing your skills? What have you found was the hardest when you were doing it, when you were trying to pivot into your new career? Hopefully some of you can answer and share and just tell us how that went. So to probably bring in a personal thing, probably they can share from two panelists. They can share their personal experience when it comes to their career change and what they did to personally brand themselves in this new endeavor that they chose in their new career. So probably I'd move it back to Joel and ask him, one of the questions is how are you able to rebrand yourself? How are you able to find the best title to use in your new are you able to add some value? What was the new message that you placed on your CV? How are you able to brand yourself on your CV or on your LinkedIn? How are you able to change the narrative so people can see you as a person who's able to work in the industry that you're currently working in?
Thank you, Nicole. So there's something interesting, though it wasn't on my CV. But the moment I was asked, how would you love to identify yourself from now on if you're going to get this job? One thing I told them in the room, I said, I'm more of a happiness engineer. And they're like, that's interesting, because having a background in radio, meaning I do a lot of speaking to people, right? But, you know, radio is more of somewhere where you speak to people as an individual, as a person. You're speaking to masses, yes, but you're talking to my dear listener. You don't say my dear listeners, you're talking to that one person, right? So you're appealing to that person. So how are you positioning yourself, right? It's more of, I've been speaking to people, but addressing one person at a time, making them to feel special. So it means in this new role as a customer experience executive, or in that note, I was an exec because I was just starting off. Now I'm more of an expert. So it was more about telling them I'm good at speaking to people, right? So what does that mean? It means in customer experience, there's something about focusing on the needs of a person. They like, there's this line I like saying, giving your customer what they want, how they want it at the exact time when they want it. So with that in mind, it kind of fast forwards when the interviewer is listening to what they expect from you. So at that point, it means you might need to change your headlines. For example, in LinkedIn, I had to like change from what I was to a customer support specialist or a customer support professional. At some point, you might even need to position yourself as a future HR specialist, because you are going into it, right? So your titles might need to change. So what you need to do is you need to avoid having vague titles, right? So keep it to a title that is more specific to the role. Because, for example, if you're coming from sales, you're going maybe say into marketing, you can't just say I'm a marketing specialist. Give it an oomph. Make it point to what exactly you want to go to. For example, if you have a bit of background in analysis, you can say maybe you're going to become a marketing analyst. It's a real role. It pays really well, by the way. So one of other things you need also to pay attention to is some of your core value. So the core values might be, if you've been solving, for example, if for my sake, I've been addressing people's entertainment needs in my previous role, and now I want to address the needs of the customer using my analytical skills and saying my communication skills to just address their needs. It might be some of the core value is I'm a people person. I'm focused on the happiness of the customers. So what will this bring to the company? It will bring customer satisfaction, right? So I'm more focused in customer satisfaction, customer happiness. I'm focused on promoter scores and stuff like that, just to bring into a nutshell some of the things I do. So those are some of the key metrics. So when I'm trying to rebrand myself, it means my title changes. My messaging in terms of who am I also changes. Some of the things that I might retain, some of my values, but at the same time, I'll need to curate them to fit the new role. So that will be it about maybe when you're trying to rebrand yourself around career path. Also, we've already talked about the CV and how to shape it, right? So it's more about just adding a bit of the title, the messaging, and some of your values to just position yourself, as well as not throwing away your experience. Because if you've been in a certain field for 10 years, if you are pitching to a new career, it doesn't mean you're going to start from zero. You are 10 years stand, but now the messaging and the title changes, and now the skills from the 10 years will still remain as 10-year skills. So that will be it from my end. Nicole, back to you.
Thank you so much, Joy. Like you've heard, it's all about positioning yourself to the best of your capabilities, just adding value towards the new company that you're positioning yourself to. I'd like to pivot to a question to Josephine, and this question is a lot about repositioning a narrative across LinkedIn. You talked about interviews, but how does one reposition themselves when it comes to their LinkedIn? What are the key things that they should add probably on the about section? Should they consider changing the headline? What are the key things that they can do when it comes to changing the narrative on their LinkedIn, and how best to connect with different people from different careers that they want to shift to, and how to connect with said people from LinkedIn. So what narratives does one use, or what skills, what tips can you offer when it comes to repositioning yourself, especially across LinkedIn?
All right, thank you for that question. So LinkedIn is the perfect spot to start when you're doing a career shift, all right? This is because it's usually, I'd say, the first stop for recruiters. With the change and shifting targets based on the generations, a lot of millennials and Gen Zs are found on LinkedIn. So it's a key point in terms of shifting your narrative to relay a certain message about your effectiveness to a certain role that you're looking to grow yourself into. So with that in mind, repositioning your narrative there means you have to shape your profile to tell a clear and forward-looking story while still honoring your past. All right. So how do you do this? You first start with the headline, which is the most important, because if someone is not your connection, the first thing they see about you is that headline, that summary. So, for example, if I use myself, instead of just putting Josephine Advocate, I put Josephine Kangende, member of IHRM and advocate of the High Court of Kenya. You see, so it's a blended and future-focused headline. Another good headline would be employment and labor law expert, and human resource professional. So there are various ways in which you can start. So I'd say the first starting point is for the headline. You shift it and blend it for a more future-focused approach. Then after that, now you move to your career story. Now this you tell at the section, the about section. All right. So here, you start with your professional identity currently, not just your past, and then show how your past has added unique value to your current direction. And then end it with a forward-looking statement about your career goals. Okay. So as an example, maybe I use myself. In my profile, the about section, I've stated I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and human resource professional. I pride myself in being diverse, holding a vast 11 years of experience, having worked in various sectors, both global and local, and departments that have grown my legal, employment, and human relations skills. I'm passionate about people and working with them to meet both individual and organizational needs using my strategic human resource, employment, and labor law skills. So that is just but one of examples on how you could use that section. Yeah. So as you can see, it started with my professional identity. Then it showed how my past career adds unique value, summarized on the fields I've worked, the both global and local fields. And then I've blended legal and HR. And then I've finished up with a forward-looking statement. All right. So after that, now you move to the experience section. So this one, reframe it to the relevant roles. All right. So for example, if you're looking to move to say a different field, so example me, I emphasize on my HR and people, governance and strategic aspects over just relying on the purely legal duties. Okay. Because remember, my angle is HR, right? So that's what I'm selling myself. So in traditionally, my contract would read like, I'm an excellent legal researcher and drafter, with experience in drafting or pleading, litigation preparation and legal drafting. So now I have shifted from that aspect now to develop HR policies and compliance. You see, policies are similar to law, but now these are HR laws, all right? So this is just one of the angles one can use to, view it from. So if it's any field, like in this field, this is what I did. But in the field I'm looking forward to, what is the similar comparison to what it is that I'm currently doing now? All right. So it's not hard because for you to move, you've already done your research. There's something about that field that has attracted you and has grown your interest. So what is this and how do you harness on it? Yeah. So that would be the third part on experience, how to reframe your role for the relevance of, your shift. And then in LinkedIn, you work on the skills and endorsements. So feature your transferable and future focused skills. So if it's for someone in the HR, if it's people, people management, if it's strategic leadership, if it's compliance and governance, if it's corporate governance, if it's performance management, you move from terms that are purely relatable to your current role to the terms that are relatable to the roles you're looking to. All right. So find a way to relate. And for skills that are alignable, highlight them. You want someone to focus on them. Yeah. Then there's the part for recommendation and endorsements. You can ask for LinkedIn recommendation from your colleagues. This is one, when I was doing a career shift, this is one of the key areas I really focused on, because I was doing the shift when LinkedIn was hype, and then there was a lot of, online opportunities. So I wasn't just focused on the Kenyan local aspect of it all. I was also focused on the global aspect. And LinkedIn was one of the key areas that played a major role in my shift, and especially attracting the global markets. So there's that. Ask your colleagues, those who can attest to your skills, yeah, in the field that you're looking to change into, to do recommendations for you, and then they validate the contribution you're making to the field that you're currently moving into. So you see, even if the services you're offering is to your colleagues, please check it up and do give your services. Don't focus on the free. Remember, you have an end goal. Okay. And then activity and posts. What interests you? So for me, I'd say my earlier posts were keen on, changes in the employment and labor environment. So I'd do, references and analyze the changes in the act. For example, the act that changed when I was doing a shift was the NSSF Act, and then it was blocked, and then now it was revived again. So I remember these are the key areas I was very keen on, in the acts, the changes in the Employment and Labor Act. I remember even my project was about employment, Section 44. on summary dismissal. This is my project in law, so you can understand where it comes from, yeah. So with passion, it builds a lot of innovative ways in which you can find solutions to problems that you perceive exist. And then with this angle now, you offer your services in that aspect. So Nicole, I hope I've answered your question well.
Yes, you have answered my question well. So you've talked about the content you placed on your LinkedIn, and what you said, how you wanted to communicate to your audience on LinkedIn and your new networks that you're pivoting in your career. That was some excellent advice, and hopefully our viewers can take that into mind. So probably I'll throw this question to Joel. So when it comes to building authority within your career shift, what are the new spaces that one has to go through? Probably how does one create new content? Because you've been in the communication industry for a while before you pivoted. And how does one network and ensure that they're visible? And also if Josephine would also like to add on to that after Joel, that would be much appreciated. So Joel, please take the place.
Thank you, Nicole, for that. So I'll try and keep it simple. When you're pivoting your career, again, I'll go back to what I said earlier on. It's a game of attraction. It's a game of liking. So it all starts with attention, getting some attention, sparking some interest. And then after you spark the desire, I really like this guy, I want to hire them. And then the action now comes in. So when you're trying to own the new space, some of the things that will stand out for you is, are you able to, for example, if it's LinkedIn, I'm trying to pivot through LinkedIn. So I'll need to post a lot of insights and also document the journey on the changes. For example, if I've done a certain project or I've been involved in this webinar, for example, that's something to celebrate. So some of your posts, you'll post something around 5 lessons that I learned on this session when it comes to career moving. How does someone move, for example, from legal to HR? How does someone move from this, for example, they are in sales and then they have just moved into marketing, or they, for example, they are in tech and now they've gone into sales, but still in the tech field. So those are some of the things. It's just about getting the attention. Now, the next thing, when you're trying to spark the interest, it will be more around networking. So you'll need to attend events, you need to join LinkedIn groups, you'll need to connect with industry leaders and some of your target market. So unfortunately, one thing that happens when you're trying to shift careers, you'll have to lose your friends in your previous career. They'll still be friends, but professionally, you might need to dial down on how much you interact with them because you're trying to build new networks. It's the journey of where you're coming from, now where you're headed. You'll still keep them as friends, yes, but as professional networks, you might need to leverage and create a whole new set of people you can go to for information. So it's more about your target industry and also the amount of information you need access to on the new industry that you are going to. Another thing that also needs to stand out is your visibility. Are you visible? So you remember what we talked about, some of your projects, some of your posts and blogs, some of the panels you show up to or events you're going to show up to in terms of your new space. You might need to have a new change of your visibility on where you are showing up. Because, for example, if initially you are showing up in more of, say, for example, I was showing in more of entertainment spaces. I was more of a common name, a household name there. Now I'm pivoting to a different industry or a different segmentation of business. What do I need to do? I need to be less of the other side and more of this other side. So those are some of the things that you need to pay attention to when you are trying to just get authority in your new space so that people know you as the current person. Because, you know, it's very hard when you keep associating yourself with who you are and you're no longer that person, you are a different person. It will be very hard for you to get opportunities on this new other side. So try and avoid getting stuck in the past. the past is important. It still matters because it builds the future. But now you remember when people are talking about CVs and how to position, you talk about present, past, present, and future. So now you are pivoting, it's more of your present and your future that really comes into play. That will be my short take or long take around that. Over to you. I guess, Josephine, if you have anything to add, I'm
Thank
not
you,
hearing
Joel.
from Nicole.
I'm trying to think if I want to dilute the message that you've given, because that was perfectly said. It's very important to focus on who you are, more of who you are currently, rather than the past. So I entirely agree with you, Joel. It's very key to try not to conflict the two, because it would bring a lot of confusion in terms of um, you know, if it's an interview, are you really keen on the new role, or are you just foresight, focusing on whatever it is that you've done in the past? So I think it's very paramount, as Joel has said, to work on the current you, harness it, highlight it, and focus on it more. And I don't want to dilute the message further.
Thank you so much, Josephine, for that, and Joel as well. You took the initiative when I just went MIA for a bit. Sorry about that. So I'd like both of you, probably and start, Josephine, on the lessons when it comes to pivoting and pivot a career more than once. What are the mistakes that you can reflect on, and if you had a chance to change, what would you do differently?
Nicole, maybe you could come again, because I think you were breaking up, so I didn't quite get the question.
Sorry, could you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Sorry about that. I was asking, so because of you've pivoted your career, so what are the lessons that one can learn when it comes to pivoting their career? What are the lessons that you can probably engage us with? What have you learned when it comes to yourself as you've pivoted your career? What are the things that you can change? Can someone pivot their career more than once? Is that even possible? And
thank you, Nicole, for that question. There is no limit. Absolutely, anyone can pivot their careers as much as they want. Remember, it's more important on what you aim to achieve with pivoting, and also focusing on the future and whether this is something you can live with. So, for example, if you move from marketing, go to HR, then go to procurement, you can pivot as much as you want, provided you have the ability to put the gaps and align them strategically. However, you also need to pay key attention to your growth, because time is of the essence and no one is growing younger. So if 10 years into working, you have 2 years of experience in a certain role, say you pivoted 5 times in 10 years, you need to understand the impact that will have on your career suitability. And if you're focused on getting a job, how that will impact you. Would you want to be 10 years pivoting into different roles, or would you like to, focus on something that you are passionate about and grow into it and become an expert in your field? This joke that let's say my mentor usually says, You could have 20 years of experience, even when you're not doing anything. Yeah, so if I can relate this to the question that you've asked, one could have 20 years of experience but has pivoted 10 or 15 times. So there's no difference between this person and an entry level person in a specific field. So you just look at your future end goal, what it is that you want to achieve. Where do you see yourself in the, do projections in the next years, like what would you like to achieve and how does this pivoting helps? If you do the analysis and you find that pivoting is what works for you and this is what you need, there is no limit. The beauty about being a human being is you can stretch yourself as much as you want. You have the brains, you have the capability and the physical ability to do it. Yeah, so that's the parting shot for me.
Thank you for that insight, Josephine. Probably Joel can share the same and tell us how they were able to do that. What are the lessons that you learned as well in terms of pivoting your career?
I think I was trying to speak, finding my mute button. So some of the lessons, some of the key, I can't call them takeaways for now. So understand that most of your skills are transferable because most of what you've learned are more of a foundation to what you want to create in future, right? At the same time, adaptability, that's something that stands out. You need to be very adaptable. For example, you might need to wait for the perfect time, but one thing you need to understand is that growth happens the moment you take the first step and just get out of that comfort zone. And one thing you need to also be cautioned about from my experience is there are certain hard skills. So for example, if you want to pivot your career, be sure that you have the hard skills needed for the next career. If you don't have them, that's when we were talking about upskilling. You might need either to take a short course or a long course in that matter, depending on what you're going for. But at the same time, one thing you need to pay attention to, if the hard skill that is needed on the other side, you don't have it, please ensure you get the hard skill. I know we're all coming out of here very confident that we can pivot. Just a disclaimer, know that if there's a specific hard skill that needs to be learned and cannot be learned on the job, make sure you are currently practicing for it. For example, if I want to switch to software development today, there is no way I can switch to software development. Despite my interest, despite my curiosity, without learning programming languages, the C++, the Java, the Pythons, React, all that, I might need to do that. So you can also use your past to your advantage. So some of the skills that you learned, so don't erase the skills that you already have, because it might be a unique strength that will set you apart. Another thing I also mentioned is also build relationships, not just skills. So that will be my take. I'll give it back to you, Nicole.
Thank you so much for that, Joel. As we've both learned from both of our panelists, it's more so that you should work on our hard skills. Make sure that we just don't think about pivoting, but critically think about it. Do we really want to pivot? Are those things that we want to do currently? Are we willing to take the risk? Those are the things that we should consider. And I found that a very dynamic tip. So I probably will move this question to our viewers and probably ask them, from what you've learned, are you now currently confident in your LinkedIn? From what you've understood, from what you've heard from both of our panelists, are you really confident? Do you feel like LinkedIn is showcasing what you're doing and where you want to pivot to? Is it very clear, or do you now realize that it's somewhat outdated, or is it totally disconnected from what you want to pivot to? So those are probably you can share your views on the chat and tell us. Do you feel like your LinkedIn is outdated? What are your thoughts? How are you feeling about it currently now as you look at it? of you have gone and taken a look at their LinkedIn. Some of us don't have a LinkedIn, and we've gotten tips, and we want now to work on our LinkedIn and network with different people from different spaces. So those are the things that we should consider, and probably you can share that and chat with us on our chats. Tell us how you feel. So I just want to give a shout out to our panelists for engaging us and telling us all the nitty-gritties about how they've been able to pivot, what they've been able to do currently. And maybe now is the time that they can answer a few questions from our viewers. They can take probably 1 or 2 questions from our chats and answer. Maybe if any of the panelists who would want to start, I'm considering choosing probably Josephine to start. Just take 1 or 2 questions from our viewers and probably answer those questions. Give them insight on what they want to hear and give them advice on how great it is to pivot to a different career.
All right, thank you, Nicole, for that. So, in the Q&A section, so let me just go through them. So there's Vincent Onyango who asked, is it advisable to add work experience that doesn't have a recommendation letter from the employer to your CV? Absolutely. It's work you did, all right? If you don't have a recommendation letter, you can put in a referee from that company. So this is a person who can attest that indeed you did work in that area. So never leave out your work experience just because you don't have a recommendation letter, provided you have someone who can attest to it. And also provided that it's not a lie. So do not lie on your CV, but also do not leave out work experience that you earned. That rightfully belongs to you. I can move to the next question. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
There's someone who asked, Alice Festo, how can you market yourself in a new career while starting out as you're barely confident that you can adapt? How can you win a potential employer confidence in your skills? So the soft skills building trainings are available in so many platforms, for example, BrighterMonday. So that is something you can explore on. You also build your communication skills, talk more about yourself, do dry runs, whether it's with yourself, with your friends, and also be passionate about what you do. Whether or not it's something that you wanted to do it passionately. Once you build passion for it, you'll find yourself being confident in how you approach job opportunities because you understand exactly what it is that you do, you love it, and now you're able to sell it to somebody else as something useful that you can offer them. So that, and also take the trainings that are available, especially the ones that are free. That is very key. I don't know. I don't shy away from free webinars or free trainings or anything that will enhance my skills. I always take them. If I come around an article that interests me, is in the field that I'm interested in, I'll read. So one of the boosters for confidence is once you become knowledgeable about something and you are given an opportunity to talk about it, it becomes easy. So that's similar to what building confidence is all about. It's being an expert in your field. And with that comes now the ability for you to express yourself, with confidence in areas that you're good at. Yeah, so I think those are the 2 questions I'd like to check. Thank you, Nicole.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Nicole, I just wanted to address some of the questions as well. So one that has caught my eye is someone calling themselves anonymous attendee. Interesting. So they are saying you're a credit professional with over 15 years in banking. So you want me to comment on the remote jobs that you're finding online. Can you go for them? Yeah, absolutely. Go for them. So one thing you need to identify is some of these sectors and how they're affecting, because there's the AI aspect of things. The world is moving fast. So some of the opportunities that they are not saying that AI is taking over our jobs and stuff like that. It's more opportunities. So something around fintech and digital lending, it's something that is up and coming. If you notice on your ads and what is coming up on your phone nowadays, a lot of fintech companies, a lot of digital lending platforms, a lot of futuristic ways of lending. That's something you can look out for. Things to do with corporate financing, credit control, financial compliance, a lot of opportunities as well. You can also go for roles in consulting and advisory. Those are some of the top jobs that you might be looking forward to. So you can look out for them in Brighter Monday. We post some of those on the platform. Another question from Vincent: how do we tailor our achievements in CV and make it significant in the job application, right? So remember what I used earlier on. When you're writing your CV, use the STAR method. What was the situation? What was the task? What was the achievement, and what were the results, or what were the actions rather? What were the actions and what were the results? So anytime you're tailoring your achievements on a CV, use that format. There's also another interesting format that will come up. This another one that we call the SPIRE method. Yeah. The SPIRE method is also something that you can work with when you're trying to come up with your CV. So the SPIRE is more around being so specific in your CV. Be positive and action oriented. Make sure it's impactful. So when you're talking about impact, it's more about numbers. Were you able to increase from a certain percentage to a certain percentage? Don't be vague again. Make it relevant. So when you're making it relevant, it's more about the target industry or the career you are pivoting to. At the same time, you can make it engaging. So when you're making it engaging, this is mostly around the formatting. Make it clean and easy to see. So those are some of the pointers when you're trying to tailor your CV. Again, allow me to be biased. On Brighter Monday, we have what we call the AI career tool. Go and research about it. It can help you to tailor your CV to just make it better, a bit of AI assisted tools over there. So that will be my take. I hope we've answered most, if not all. In the interest of time, I'll give it back to Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joel and Josephine, especially in the of us have so many questions and want them all answered. But again, because of time, we have stretched it a bit so that we could be able to probably answer one or two questions from our panelists. I'd like to give a round of applause and thank you to our panelists for answering our questions, telling us the insights that they've had within their careers, well they. I hope you guys have learned a lot. Thank you for engaging with us. Thank you for telling us all. I personally got 3 takeaways from this session. One, that career pivoting is repositioning yourself. It's not a restart. And your experience is all about framing yourself wisely. So as long as we frame ourselves wisely, I'm pretty sure most of us can pivot within our careers. And again, personal branding, all about personal branding. So if keep that in mind when it comes to tailoring your CVs, your LinkedIn, your cover letter, all that when it comes. Find the best allies when it comes to networking. Those are personally my takeaways. So hopefully you guys have your ways and you can list them again, share them of how your experience was with. Hopefully you had the best fun. Thank you again so much. I would like to give a round of applause to Joel and Josephine for giving us their feedback. Thank you so much, and thank you for all of you that joined us and engaged with us. Have a lovely night, guys. I was your host, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, BrighterMonday, for this session.